What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, out now on Netflix, streaming right now. Let's get into it. So there's a number of things that I want to say right off the bat about Texas Chainsaw Massacre as the franchise and what I thought of some of the movies, just so you can kind of get an idea of what I've enjoyed and what I haven't. First of all, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is not one of my favorite franchises. Do I like some of the movies in the franchise? Of course I do. There are very few that I do enjoy, but it is what it is. It's just safe to say that nowadays, with how many different iterations of Texas Chainsaw Massacre that we've gotten over the years since the original, there is going to be very many different fans of many different things in each of the movies. There may be a number one fan of every single movie out there and different tribes that like that. I enjoyed the first one when I was a kid. It was pretty rough and raw. There wasn't really much of a storyline to me, in my opinion. It had some great shots and raw imagery that just kind of made you feel like this was happening live in front of you. I've even compared some of it to found footage in some ways because it feels like this raw atmosphere. And as many remember, the first movie really wasn't all that gory. There's very little blood in the movie, and it's really kind of relies on that sort of violent behavior to kind of push the film. Now, Texas Chainsaw Massacre has had a lot of family members and things in the movie, and this movie in particular relies solely on just one of the characters for the most part, and that is Leatherface. So if you were looking for that family dynamic that Rob Zombie loves and pretty much built his entire resume off of characters like that in a way, this is going to be a very different film for you. This is definitely a Leatherface film, and this movie seems to be borrowing heavily from the new Halloween that we have been recently treated to that's hit the screen over the past few years. The whole storyline with Laurie Strode and all that. So knowing that, I just wanted to kind of point that out to you. There are very few films in the franchise that I actually really like, and I tend to be a little bit more on the gore and meatier, bloody side of those movies, so you can kind of pick and choose from there. So, Texas Chainsaw Massacre finally hits Netflix, and I really had no expectations for this movie. I really was not excited about it. I didn't even really watch but one time on the trailer. I just wasn't expecting anything to come from it because it's been so long that inevitably it's always going to piss somebody off or, not be the movie that you're expecting. It's about a group of kids or influencers or people who are pretty much into the sort of woke culture who are trying to gentrify an old town in Harlow, Texas, when, unbeknownst to them, they stir up the old Leatherface to go on a killing spree of probably one of the goriest films in the franchise. Yes. You heard that right. So, if you are a fan of gore, this might be a good movie for you. Now, they use a couple of different techniques in this film, so there is a lot of CGI stuff, but it's pretty unrecognizable for the most part. And, just seeing people get mutilated essentially is kind of fun. There are some moments in the film that are extremely violent, extremely graphic, and it does not turn away. There are some cool kills in the movie as well. I'm kind of okay with the kills that were in this. I enjoyed them. Wanted to see more of that. Leatherface. Let's talk about Leatherface. I thought the mask on Leatherface looked really good, and it was really kind of scary and weird looking. I wasn't really scared by this movie, by the way, but I don't know. Leatherface looked pretty decent, I thought. He is very different from a lot of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies in the fact that he is one of the more agile ones, I feel, and probably more intelligent, which is kind of different if you followed the franchise because he's pretty much been just a child in a meat skin mask. And he, in this movie, is very smart and very cunning and very agile. You'd think 50 years later that this takes place after the first Texas Chainsaw movie that he might be a little tired and run down, but for the sake of entertainment, he's not. I didn't mind that. I didn't really care. In fact, all I really wanted from this movie when I went into it is for it to have some entertainment value to it because, you know, the franchise has kind of gone all over the place and everybody has their own piece of what they love about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like I said in the beginning. So the cinematography, the director of photography, all of the shots, all the camera movements, and everything in this movie are really well done. And I can see why they actually picked the director of this movie, David Blue Garcia, who has only directed one other feature film called Tejanos, but I went ahead and watched the trailer for it because I haven't seen the movie, and you can see directly where they wanted to pick him from because he has this sort of artistic style about how he shoots and how the action scenes go, and I think that's why Fede, I would assume, Fede Alvarez, who produced and wrote this film, picked him. Also, of course, Fede teams up with his writer, Rodo Soyages, who I never say his name right, I'm sorry. They teamed up again to do the story, while Chris Thomas Devlin actually does the screenplay treatment to make it kind of cohesive. The story in this movie is it's not great. There are some jokes in this movie that are intentionally put there. In fact, I think there was an article out that said, hey, it's just a joke, you know, about this particular scene in the movie. And I don't know how people will feel about that, whether that's going to bother them. I don't really pretend to think that this is some sort of political movie or anything like that. I think it's just the times and it's topical and it kind of works. The kids coming to gentrify this whole neighborhood or this town that's like been fossilized, and they remove somebody from this house and it causes this whole uproar of everything that happens. That all sort of kind of plays off each other throughout the whole movie, and then sort of pays off at the very end. There are some other things that have happened in our history that, you know, like school shootings and things like that they make some comparisons to. That is not heavy-handed in the sense that it's trying to tell you which way to think. It is heavy-handed in that it's part of the story, but it's not like forcing you to go one way or the other. In fact, it could be pointing to the other side that you would not expect. But ultimately, this is going to be a movie that's probably going to upset somebody just because it's not what they wanted. It's not honoring Leatherface in the traditional way. I have no issues or qualms with that. I just wanted to be entertained by a horror movie. We get a lot of films these days that have a lot of thoughtfulness and, like, you know, metaphors and, you know, meaning and deepness to it, which I love. But it is nice to kind of like set back and just enjoy a film that is what it is. Examples in this movie, I saw pretty much everything coming from a mile away. From the beginning of the setup of the movie, I knew where all these pieces were pretty much going to land. I wasn't sure who was going to die, and that is actually some of the surprising part, because they tend to kill off the characters that you may or may not like that. And it's kind of thrilling in that regard, because you're just like, holy shit, I was not expecting that. But all of the different characters in the movie sort of fill different roles. And we also see one of the returning characters, Sally Hardesty, who got away at the very end in the back of the truck with the infamous scene where he's spinning the chainsaw in the first movie. Yeah, she's back. And this is where people feel that it is 100% biting off of Halloween and the sort of retconning entire franchise like they did with the new Halloween movies. I honestly didn't mind her in this role because it seemed kind of realistic. The Halloween movies, for me, with Laurie Strode, seem, while I love her, it just doesn't seem like that would really happen. But, you know, that's an opinion. Some people love those movies. Some people hate them. I enjoyed the second one. I like this one. You know, it's just kind of up in the air how you're going to feel about that. It's going to move a lot of people in a lot of different directions. But ultimately, I got what I wanted, which was a lot of gore and a lot of entertainment value. Mark Burnham, who plays Leatherface, I thought actually did a pretty damn good job. If you've never seen the movie Lowlife, who I always talk about, Ryan Prowse directed, it's sort of like an action thriller exploitation film. And Mark Burnham's in that movie. And man, he really kind of does the character justice in some ways, while the writing side of Leatherface kind of did him disjustice for some of those purists out there. I'm not one of them, but I thought he did a fairly decent job, and it was good to kind of see him in something bigger. Is this going to tantalize everybody out there? Who knows? It's really just kind of, you got to just see it for yourself to really understand it. I personally think this is a highly entertaining film. This is one that I will enjoy and will pull out on the shelf if Netflix decides to put it out on physical media. But I feel like they've just gotten burned by Stranger Things, because you saw like hundreds of copies at Target that they never sold, and they were like, well, it just doesn't work. And I hope that's not the case, Netflix. Please give the physical media to this movie so that we can at least put it in our collection. We would greatly appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. But anyway, guys, I would give this an 8.5 out of 10. It is more entertaining than it is a story. It's going to dice everybody up into little bits, and if that makes you happy, this is probably going to be the movie for you. If you are a purist and you need to have this and you have to have this in your story, please understand that, you know, it's not that you're wrong or that I don't agree with you. It's that it's just been so many years now, and with so many iterations, it's really going to be hard. You're going to be rolling the dice to see what is going to fit your thing, in my personal opinion. I liked it. I would give it an 8.5 out of 10 just because it's entertaining and it's different than what we're typically getting in the horror media today. I wanted to just take a ride, and I got it. And that is sorely missed in today's movies, where they're always well thought out. There's some sort of metaphor, and I just want to have a fucking land shark killing people and having fun. So I got that. I hope that you enjoyed it. If not, let me know what you like in the franchise. What is a staple that you think should have been in this movie, or that should be in every single Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie? Is it about the family? Is it only about Leatherface? Does this movie need to have a family and they didn't have it? Or, you know, what is it about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the franchise, that you love? And let me know in the comment section down below. No wrong answers, just love to hear what you think and love to talk to you guys about it. But other than that, thank you so much for coming by, and as always, long live the void.